The USNS Mercy Aya drifted silently through space, its white hull gleaming against the darkness. Red crosses painted on its sides marked it as a hospital ship. Inside, Captain Laura Bennett stood at the bridge window, watching the stream of refugee ships limping ahead of her vessel. She hadn't expected to become the guardian of 3,000 civilians when she started her morning. "Captain," another distress signal, called out Kevin Martinez from his communication station. "Two more refugee ships just jumped into our sector. Their engines are damaged." Laura rubbed her tired eyes. The Kracken attack had scattered Earth's defense fleet across the solar system. Now her hospital ship was all that stood between these refugees and the alien warships hunting them. "Tell them to join the convoy," she said. "Dr. Carter, how's the situation in medical?" Dr. Daniel Carter's voice came through the ship's speakers. "We're at 90% capacity. The new quantum healing systems are working better than expected. They're even helping us treat the alien refugees, though we never designed them for non-human biology." The ship shuddered slightly. Laura grabbed her console as the tactical officer spoke up. "Kracken ships detected at extreme range. 3 destroyers, moving fast." Laura's mind raced. The Mercy Eye carried no weapons. It wasn't meant for battle, but she had sworn an oath to protect those under her care, no matter their species. "Engineering, how much power can you give to the shields?" "Everything except life support and medical, Captain," Gregory Walsh replied. "But it won't hold long against military ships." In the medical bay, Dr. Carter and his team worked frantically. Beds filled with humans and aliens lined the walls. The air smelled of antiseptic and fear. A young nurse rushed past, carrying medical supplies to a crying child. Despite the chaos, the medical staff moved with purpose and calm. "Doctor," head nurse Patricia Morris called out, "the quantum healing chamber is showing strange readings with the Zethru patients. Their tissue regeneration is happening twice as fast as human baseline." Daniel hurried over to check the readings. The experimental healing technology was performing beyond all expectations. Somehow, the quantum field was adapting to alien biology on its own. On the bridge, Laura watched the enemy ships draw closer. The refugee ships were too damaged to jump to faster than light speed. Running wasn't an option. "Open a channel to all frequencies," she ordered. "This is Captain Laura Bennett of the USNS Mercy Aya. We are a medical vessel protected under Galactic Convention 3. We carry wounded civilians, including members of your own species. Stand down your weapons." The response came in the harsh, clicking language of the Kracken, translated by the ship's computers. "Human vessel, surrender your refugees. They are enemies of the Empire." "They are patients under my protection," Laura replied firmly. "If you wish to board us, you'll find only doctors and nurses ready to treat your wounded as well. We refuse no one care." Minutes passed in tense silence. The Kracken ships drew closer, weapon systems hot. Laura held her breath. The entire ship seemed to wait. Then the enemy ships slowed. The translator crackled again. "Our sensors confirm your medical status. We have wounded of our own. Will you accept them?" Laura let out a long breath. "We accept all patients. Send them over." Hours later, the medical bay had new occupants. Injured Kracken soldiers lying next to the very refugees they had been hunting. Dr. Carter moved between them, treating all with equal care. In one corner, a Kracken warrior reached out to help a human child who had dropped her toy. Laura watched from the doorway, allowing herself a small smile. Maybe there was more than one way to win a war. Sometimes healing meant more than victory. The Mercy Eye continued its mission, no longer running from the Kracken ships, but traveling with them. In protecting the weak and healing the wounded, they had found a path to something greater than survival. They had found hope. Dr. Amanda Collins stared at the screen showing the medical nanites' behavior. For 3 days straight, she had watched these microscopic machines adapt to alien biology. The tiny robots were doing something unexpected. They were learning. "Look at this pattern," she said to Dr. Carter, pointing to the swirling display. The nanites aren't just repairing tissue anymore. They're actually modifying their programming to match each species' unique biology. The medical bay hummed with activity around them. Through the observation window, they could see Earth vessels engaging Kracken ships in the distance. Silent flashes of light marked another battle in the ongoing war. A loud alarm interrupted their discussion. Emergency incoming. Nurse Morris called out. Zethri diplomatic vessel hit by crossfire. Multiple casualties. The medical team rushed to the receiving bay. The ship's teleport pad glowed as it brought in the wounded. Among them was Ambassador Krell, the highest-ranking Zethri diplomat in the sector. The alien's silvery skin had turned a sickly gray, with severe plasma burns covering most of their body. Their life signs are critical, Dr. Carter announced, checking his medical scanner. Standard treatments won't work fast enough. Amanda made a quick decision. Get them to the nanite chamber. I have an idea. Captain Bennett's voice came over the speakers. Medical team, we need that ambassador alive. The Zethri are threatening to join the Kracken if we can't save their leader. Amanda worked quickly, adjusting the nanite programming. She had noticed something strange in her research, a genetic marker that humans shared with the Zethri. It was tiny, but it might be enough. Initiating treatment, she announced. The chamber hummed to life. Microscopic machines swarmed over the ambassador's wounds, using the shared genetic marker as a blueprint. Hours passed. The medical team watched anxiously as the nanites worked. In the distance, more battles lit up space. Everything could change based on whether they saved one life. Ambassador Krell's vital signs began to stabilize. The burned tissue started healing at an incredible rate. Amanda's modification had worked. The nanites were successfully repairing Zethri biology. Captain, Dr. Carter called out. The ambassador is going to make it. The news spread quickly through the ship. In the diplomatic quarter, Zethri representatives gathered to discuss their position in the war. The success in saving their leader had earned humanity new respect. Amanda couldn't rest. She kept studying the results, making new discoveries. The genetic marker they shared with the Zethri appeared in other species too, including the Kracken. It was like finding a common thread in the galaxy's DNA. This could change everything, she told Captain Bennett during their evening briefing. The nanites aren't just healing tools anymore. They're showing us how all species are connected. Laura nodded thoughtfully. Can you adapt the system for large-scale treatment? Yes, but Amanda hesitated. The Kracken would need to trust us enough to accept treatment. They'd have to let their guard down completely. In the medical bay, Ambassador Krell was already walking. The Zethri diplomats studied their healed skin with amazement. Your medicine goes beyond healing the body, they said to Dr. Carter. It builds bridges between stars. The USNS Mercy I continued its mission, but something had changed. Word spread about the miracle healing happening aboard the human vessel. More ships began appearing, not to fight, but to seek help. Amanda worked late into the night, refining her discovery. On her screen, the nanites danced between cells of different species, finding common ground in the basic building blocks of life. In trying to save lives, they had stumbled upon something much bigger, proof that all intelligent life shared a common bond. Outside her window, another battle flared. But this time, hope flickered brighter than the weapon's fire. They had found a different kind of weapon, one that could end the war not through destruction, but through healing. Kevin Martinez sat in his small intelligence office aboard the USNS Mercy II, surrounded by screens showing transmissions from across the sector. His job was to keep the hospital ship safe, but lately, his work had led him to a strange discovery. The Kracken weren't acting like typical conquerors. Captain Bennett, he called over the ship's comm. You need to see this. Laura arrived quickly, looking tired but alert. The past week had brought a steady stream of patients from all sides of the conflict. Even wounded Kracken soldiers now filled their medical bay. What did you find? She asked. Kevin pointed to his main screen. Look at these Kracken transmission patterns. They're not sending battle plans or invasion coordinates. Most of their secret messages are about medical supplies and quarantine zones. He pulled up more data. Their fleet movements don't make sense for a war of conquest. They're spreading out too thin, searching for something. And every planet they take, they immediately set up massive medical facilities. Laura leaned closer to the screen. You think they're running from something? Not running, Kevin said. Searching. I think they're desperate for a cure. In the medical bay, Dr. Carter was treating a Kracken soldier when he noticed something odd. The warrior's skin had a slight greenish tint that didn't match any previous medical records. He took a sample for testing. The results confirmed his suspicions. The soldier was carrying traces of an unknown disease. When he checked other Kracken patients, he found the same markers in all of them. Captain, he reported later that day, I think we know why the Kracken are really fighting this war. They're infected with something. All of them. The ship's conference room filled quickly. Laura sat at the head of the table, surrounded by her key staff. Dr. Collins brought her nanite research, and Kevin shared his intelligence findings. Their empire is dying, Kevin explained. That's why they're expanding so aggressively. They're looking for a cure across the galaxy. A soft alert chimed. Another Kracken warship was approaching, but this time it wasn't attacking. Instead, it was asking for medical assistance. Laura made a decision. Let them dock. Dr. Carter, prepare your team. The Kracken ship carried more sick than wounded. Their soldiers looked strong, but medical scans showed the disease eating away at them from inside. Their proud warriors were fighting time itself. We can help them, Dr. Collins said, studying the results. The nanites might be able to fight this disease, but they have to trust us completely. Word spread through the sector. The human hospital ship was treating Kracken patients. Some called it treason. Others saw hope. The Mercy Eye became a neutral zone where enemies lay in beds next to each other, all receiving the same care. More ships arrived each day. Not just Kracken vessels, but ships from other species too. Some came for treatment, others to offer help. The medical bay turned into a meeting ground where former enemies worked together to save lives. Laura watched from her usual spot on the bridge as another group of ships approached. This time, she noticed something different. The Kracken vessels were escorting and protecting the hospital ship, not hunting it. Captain, Kevin called out, excitement in his voice. I'm picking up new transmissions from the Kracken fleet. They're talking about peace negotiations. The USNS Mercy Eye had become more than a hospital ship. It was now a symbol of hope, a place where the walls between species came down. In trying to save their enemies, humanity had found a way to end the war. Through the window, Laura watched Earth's sun shine in the distance. Sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy was to heal them. The Mercy Eye had proved that medicine could succeed where weapons had failed. Dr. Daniel Carter couldn't believe what he was seeing in the microscope. The sample from the Kracken plague looked familiar, too familiar. He had seen something like this before, but it shouldn't have been possible. Lieutenant Richardson, he called to the ship's xenobiologist. I need your opinion on this. Susan Richardson walked over from her workstation. She had spent the last 5 years studying alien biology, but nothing had prepared her for what they found on the Mercy Eye. The virus structure, Daniel said, pointing to his screen. Does it remind you of anything? Susan's eyes widened. That's impossible. It looks like the Earth virus from the Jensen archive. But that was cured 300 years ago. They pulled up the old medical records. The similarities were striking. The Kracken plague shared an almost identical structure with a virus that had once threatened Earth's population centuries ago. In the medical bay, more Kracken patients arrived each hour. Their proud warriors now looked tired and weak. The disease was spreading faster through their fleet. We need to tell the captain, Daniel said. He gathered his data and headed for the bridge. Captain Bennett listened carefully as Daniel explained their discovery. The ship's senior staff gathered around, watching as he showed them the comparison screens. The virus that's killing the Kracken, he explained, is almost exactly like one that infected humans hundreds of years ago. We developed a cure back then, but the knowledge was lost in the Great Data Crash. Laura leaned forward. Are you saying we might have the answer in our medical history? Maybe, Susan added. But we need to understand why it affects the Kracken differently. Their biology is more complex than ours. Dr. Collins joined them, bringing her nanite research. The genetic marker we found, the one that lets our nanites work on their tissue, might be the key. This virus attacks that exact part of their cells. The ship's computer hummed as it processed centuries of medical data. They had to find the cure before the Kracken Empire collapsed. A dying empire with advanced weapons was dangerous to everyone. In the quarantine ward, a young Kracken soldier watched them work. His name was Kex, and he had been one of their first patients. Now he helped them understand how the plague spread through his people. The first cases appeared after we explored the ruins on Proxima B, he told them. We thought we had found ancient weapons to help us expand our empire. Instead, we woke up something that had been sleeping for centuries. Susan's console beeped with new results. The virus must have traveled from Earth during the first wave of colonization. It survived in the ruins, mutated, and waited. And now it's stronger, Daniel added. But that means the old cure might still work as a starting point. The medical team worked through the night. They combined Earth's ancient medical knowledge with their understanding of Kracken biology. Dr. Collins's nanites provided the bridge between human and alien medicine. Laura watched her crew work together with the Kracken patients. Former enemies now shared knowledge freely, united against a common threat. The hospital ship had become humanity's most powerful weapon, not through force, but through healing. "We've found something," Daniel announced as morning approached. "The virus has a weakness. When it adapted to Kracken biology, it kept its old vulnerabilities. We can use that." Hope spread through the ship like a cure itself. They had discovered why the Kracken fought so desperately. Now they could offer something better than conquest, a chance for survival. The USNS Mercy I had embarked on a simple mission to heal the wounded. Instead, it had uncovered a truth that could change the fate of two civilizations. Sometimes the greatest battles weren't won with weapons, but with microscopes and compassion. Captain Laura Bennett stood at her command station, reading the orders from Earth Fleet Command again. The message was clear. All medical ships were to retreat to Earth's defense line immediately. No exceptions. She looked through the bridge window at the massive Kracken fleet floating nearby. Their ships were no longer threatening the Mercy I. Instead, they were protecting it while their sick crowded the medical bay. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "Fleet Command is asking for confirmation of our retreat." Laura walked to the medical bay instead of answering. Inside, Dr. Carter and his team worked tirelessly. Kracken warriors lay in beds next to human refugees, all receiving the same care. Dr. Collins supervised the nanite treatments, while Engineer Walsh modified the ship's systems to handle more patients. "How close are we to a cure?" Laura asked. "We're making progress," Dr. Collins replied, not looking up from her work. "The nanites are adapting faster now, but we need more time." In engineering, Gregory Walsh wiped sweat from his forehead as he rewired another power system. He had been working for 20 hours straight, converting storage rooms into treatment areas. The ship's medical capabilities were now 3 times what they had been designed for. "Captain," he reported, "we can handle more patients, but these modifications aren't exactly in the manual. If we go back to Earth, they'll dock us for months of inspections." Laura nodded. She had already decided, but she needed her crew's support. She called a meeting of her senior staff. "Fleet Command has ordered us to retreat," she told them. "They think we're taking too big a risk. They want us back behind Earth's defense line within 12 hours. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then Dr. Carter spoke up. "If we leave now, thousands will die. Not just Kracken, but anyone infected with this plague." "The Kracken ships might try to stop us from leaving," Kevin Martinez added. They're desperate for our help. This could restart the war. Laura looked at each of her crew members. I'm thinking of disobeying orders. This might end all our careers. I won't force anyone to risk that. One by one, they gave their answer. No one wanted to abandon their patients. Laura returned to the bridge and opened a channel to the Kracken fleet. This is Captain Bennett. We're staying to help, but we'll need your cooperation to make this work. The Kracken commander's voice came back immediately. You risk much to help your enemies, human. We will not forget this. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. More Kracken ships arrived, bringing their sick. Dr. Collins's team worked on adapting the cure, while Engineer Walsh pushed the ship's systems to their limits. Captain, Kevin called out suddenly. 3 Earth warships just jumped into the sector. They're here to escort us back. Laura straightened her uniform and opened a channel. Earth vessels, this is Captain Bennett of the Mercy Aya. We will not abandon our patients. If you want this ship, you'll have to take it by force. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the Earth ships moved into defensive positions around the Mercy Eye, facing the Kracken fleet. Everyone waited to see who would fire first. The lead Earth ship finally responded. Captain Bennett, this is Admiral Chen. Your actions have been noted. We're here to protect your mission, not stop it. Continue your work. Relief swept through the ship. They had bet their careers on compassion, and their own people had backed them up. The Mercy Aya's mission would continue. Laura smiled as she watched Earth and Kracken ships patrolling together, guarding the hospital ship while it did its work. Sometimes the bravest decision was to help instead of fight. Head nurse Patricia Morris moved quickly through the crowded medical bay of the USNS Mercy Eye. Every bed was full, and temporary cots lined the hallways. Kracken patients lay everywhere, their normally gray skin showing the greenish tint of the plague. We need more nanite injectors in Ward C, she called to a passing medical team. The ship had become the center of the largest medical operation in human history. Earth and Kracken doctors worked side by side, fighting against time to save lives. In the research lab, Dr. Amanda Collins watched the first batch of modified nanites attack the virus. The tiny machines glowed blue on her screen as they repaired damaged Kracken cells. It's working, she said to Dr. Carter. The nanites are adapting faster than the virus can mutate. But not everyone wanted peace. On the bridge, Kevin Martinez picked up troubling transmissions. Captain, we have a problem. Some Kracken warships are breaking away from their fleet. They're calling the peace efforts treason. Laura Bennett studied the tactical display. A group of Kracken battleships had moved away from the protection fleet. Their weapons were charging. They'd attack their own people to stop the peace, she asked. Hardliners, Kevin explained. They think accepting human help makes them weak, and we're picking up similar chatter from some Earth ships. In the medical bay, the first fully treated Kracken patients were recovering. Their skin returned to its normal color, and their strength came back quickly. But they needed time to treat everyone. Time the hardliners didn't want to give them. Patricia organized the medical teams for the next wave of patients. She had learned to read Kracken vital signs as easily as human ones. The treatment takes 6 hours per patient, she reported. We need at least 3 more days to help everyone. The ship shuddered as the first shots were fired. Not at the Mercy Eye, but between Kracken ships. The hardliners were fighting their own people to stop the cure from spreading. All medical teams, secure your patients, Laura ordered over the ship's speakers. Engineering, divert power to shields. Gregory Walsh's voice came back tired but determined. Shields at maximum, Captain, but we weren't built for this kind of fight. The space around the Mercy Eye lit up with weapons fire, but something unexpected happened. Earth ships and loyal Kracken vessels moved together, forming a wall around the hospital ship. Former enemies now fought side by side to protect the cure. Inside, the medical work continued. Patricia and her teams moved from patient to patient, ignoring the battle outside. Dr. Collins monitored the nanite treatments while Dr. Carter coordinated with Kracken doctors. A young Kracken warrior grabbed Patricia's arm as she passed. "Why do you help us?" he asked. "We were your enemies." Patricia checked his vital signs before answering. "Because that's what healers do. Today you're not our enemy. You're our patient." The battle raged for hours. But with each Kracken warrior cured, with each life saved, the hardliners lost support. More ships turned away from the fight and came to protect the Mercy Eye. "Captain," Kevin called out, "the hardliner fleet is retreating. We're receiving surrenders from 3 of their ships. They're asking for treatment." Laura smiled tiredly. "Tell them what we tell everyone. We accept all patients." The medical bay doors opened to receive more wounded, but now the injuries were from fighting the hardliners, not from fighting each other. Earth and Kracken soldiers carried each other in, supporting former enemies as they limped to treatment beds. Patricia watched it all as she worked, seeing how healing could change everything. The Mercy Eye had done more than cure a plague. It had shown 2 species they could trust each other. 5 years after the Kracken plague crisis, the USNS Mercy Eye floated in orbit around a newly built space station. The station's name was Unity Point, and it served as the headquarters for the Interstellar Medical Exchange Program. Captain Laura Bennett stood at her familiar spot on the bridge, watching ships from a dozen different species dock at the station. Hard to believe it all started with one hospital ship, Kevin Martinez said, now serving as the station's intelligence chief. The former enemies who had once fought desperate battles now worked together, sharing medical knowledge that could save all their peoples. In the main medical bay, Dr. Daniel Carter trained a mixed group of human and alien doctors. The quantum healing technology that had helped save the Kracken had evolved into something even more powerful. The nanites now adapted to any species, healing injuries and fighting diseases that once seemed hopeless. "Remember to let the nanites adjust naturally," he told his students. "They're smarter than we thought. They can find the connections between different species on their own." Dr. Amanda Collins walked into the classroom, carrying new research data. She had won multiple awards for her work with the nanites, but she cared more about the lives they saved. "The latest results from the outer colonies are in," she told Daniel. "The plague is completely gone. No new cases in 2 years." Outside the station, a Kracken battleship patrolled alongside Earth vessels. Their crews no longer saw each other as aliens to fear, but as allies who had faced death together and chosen to help each other live. Laura left the bridge and walked through the station's corridors. The halls were filled with beings from across the galaxy. Medical teams rushed past, carrying equipment and discussing treatments in many languages. The ship's universal translators helped them all work together. She found Nurse Patricia Morris organizing supplies in the new Emergency Response Center. The center coordinated medical ships from all species, sending help wherever it was needed in known space. The Zethary fleet reported a new virus in their home system. Patricia said, "We're preparing to send aid ships now." Both Earth and Kracken vessels volunteered for the mission. Laura nodded, remembering how it all began. 5 years ago, we would have seen a virus as a weapon. Now we see it as a reason to work together. In the station's Great Hall, a ceremony was about to begin. The original crew of the Mercy Eye gathered to watch as their ship's name was added to the Wall of Healing, a monument to those who had changed the galaxy through medical science rather than warfare. Gregory Walsh, still the ship's chief engineer, had kept the Mercy Eye running through impossible situations. Now he supervised the construction of new hospital ships that combined the best technology from all species. "Each new ship is better than the last," he told Laura. "The Kracken engineers have some amazing ideas about power systems, and the Zethary know things about medical equipment we never dreamed of." The ceremony began. Representatives from every major species stood together as they honored the ship and crew that had shown them a better way. The Kracken High Commander, once their greatest enemy, spoke first. "The Mercy Eye taught us that true strength lies not in conquest, but in healing," the commander said. "One ship changed not just our bodies, but our hearts. We thought we needed to rule the galaxy. Instead, We learned to help it heal. Laura watched as images of their journey played on the hall's screens. The desperate battles, the first treatments, the moments when enemies became friends. It was all there. The Mercy Eye had started a revolution not with weapons, but with medicine. Now their mission continued, spreading hope across the stars. Every day, more ships joined the fleet, carrying healing to places where once they would have brought war. In the end, humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't technology or power. It was the simple idea that helping others made everyone stronger.